A little bit about me. I'm the president of Created Equal, which is a national pro-life organization that raises up the next generation of leaders to take on the culture of death and win, because winning is how the killing ends. And we do that by going to college and high school campuses. For today, we're going to be talking about rescuing babies from abortion. And there's no better person to be talking about that with than my good friend, Monica Miller. And Monica's the author of this book, Abandoned, the Untold Story of the Abortion Wars. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the experiences that Monica had that she outlines in this book today. We're also going to be talking about rescuing, what that means or has meant, I guess, maybe as well, historically, and then with the Red Rose rescues that are taking place across America. So, stick around, folks. I think you're going to really enjoy this program. You're going to be inspired to do more for the cause of Christ and for the babies. So I hope you can join us and spend the whole time with us today. So, again, my guest is Dr. Monica Miller. Monica, thanks for being on the program today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
So, Monica, we just saw each other at Joe Scheidler's funeral just a couple of weeks ago,
right,
in Chicago. And, just briefly, I know Joe meant the world to you. Of course, I knew Joe as well, not as long as you did, but, Joe was a pioneer for pro-life activism. He pioneered the use of victim photography and video, which is something that we use all the time. If you would just tell us, what the life of Joe Scheidler meant to you.
Well, I met Joe Scheidler when I was just 24 years old, so I was young and just getting started in pro-life work.
Yeah.
And I met him at a meeting. Somebody invited me to go to a pro-life meeting. I said, well, sure, why not? So the meeting turned out to be a meeting to plan a sit-in.
In at an abortion clinic, I take it.
Yeah, well, right, in Chicago. Joe Scheidler was at that time the president of the Illinois Right to Life Committee.
What year was that?
That was 1978.
Wow.
And I jumped in with both feet in the deep end. I had no hesitations. Maybe I'm just a crazy person, but what excuses did I have? I had no excuses. I was young. I was not married. I had no children. I was in college, and I just felt that this sit-in. Now this was before we even started to call them rescues,
Right.
but I just felt that the unborn deserved a real act of defense, and that was my introduction to Joe, and I learned activism from him. I really did. And being out on the streets with him in countless demonstrations, other rescues that we did together in Chicago, the way that he was able to attract media attention, to expand our pro-life presence, running after the pro-abortion politicians with his signage, getting us into rallies with these pro-abortion politicians where we were able to yell, "What about the babies, Geraldine?"
Yeah.
Geraldine Ferraro.
Geraldine Ferraro. Yeah, that's going back a while.
Yeah, it's going back. I told Joe about 20 years ago. He and I teamed up when I was living in Illinois briefly before our family moved to Michigan. Joe and I teamed up to do the first Face the Truth tours in Illinois. And at a farewell party, because as I said, I was moving to Michigan, I said to Joe that there is no other person on earth that has had more influence on me in my adult life, even more than my own father, than Joseph Scheidler. And I think that really impressed him very deeply. And we became very, very, very good friends.
All right. Well, Joe was a great man, and we're going to miss him dearly. So, Monica, in your book here, Abandon, the Untold Story of the Abortion Wars, it's full of stories over the years of the things that you had done to rescue children. I'd like to take a few minutes and have you share one or two of those, and then I would like to talk about rescuing uh, currently, what's going on with the Red Rose Rescues. So if you would, I mean, the one that I recall, and maybe you don't need to speak to this one, but the one I recall the most is the one where you talk about being at the edge of the world, which is
Oh, right.
you were picking up, or you were getting the babies from a loading dock where they were going to be taken to be burned like common garbage. And you have a section in here about that. That to me was so very powerful. The edge of the world. I guess I had never really thought of in those terms.
Right. Well, in 1988, our group actually teamed up with Joseph Scheidler to well, okay, let me a little backstory here. We found out that a pathology lab in Northbrook, Illinois, was basically being used as a dumping ground for about 12 different abortion clinics from all over the country. A lot of them were these clinics that were owned by a woman named Susan Hill. This was basically her franchise. So any clinic would be like the Summit Women's Health Organization or the Delaware Women's Health Organ. So these were the WHO clinics, right? Women's Health
Uh-huh.
Organization clinics, the majority of them. But anyway, we found out that VitalMed, the name of the laboratory, was stockpiling on their loading dock every week literally boxes of aborted babies. I know this sounds absolutely incredibly bizarre. It was the dark secret of the abortion industry. They were shipping
Mhm.
these bodies in parcel post, and they were winding up on the loading dock of the pathology lab. And we knew that they were being picked up for incineration, an incineration company, because we actually found the paperwork. Um, so the first night that we went to VitalMed to retrieve the victims was very late at night. It was cold, like it is now, February,
Mhm.
cold night, about 10:30 at night. And the loading dock was within a very, very large garage space, and there was a utility door, always open, always unlocked, and very quiet, isolated. This was in an industrial park. We open up the door and we're immediately confronted by a loading ramp, and it goes straight down to the loading dock itself. And I could see, as I got closer, I could see the cardboard boxes, and we jump up on the loading dock and we opened the flaps. And sure enough, we're confronted by hundreds of aborted babies. Most of them are in whirl packs, ranging anywhere from 6 weeks gestation to 6 months gestation. How do we know that? Because the age, the gestational age of the victims were actually written on the bags with the date of the abortion, and sometimes even the mother's names on the bags and the names of the abortionists
Mhm.
often were on these bags. And they were in the boxes. We knew exactly where they were coming from because the return labels were on those boxes. So we knew exactly where they were coming from. Delaware, North Carolina, Fargo, North Dakota, Chicago, Milwaukee, New Jersey. It was incredible. And I thought to myself, where am I exactly? How is
Yeah.
it that a
Yeah.
baby conceived in Raleigh, North Carolina, was winding up on a loading dock in an industrial park in Northbrook, Illinois, waiting to be picked up for garbage incineration? And this probably is indeed the most profound lesson I have learned in my vast pro-life experience. I
Mhm.
learned that abortion that night is not just, put quotation marks around that, but not just about the killing of the unborn. What was the real plight of these victims? The real plight was a terrible, radical, horrible loneliness. They were cast
Yeah.
out of the human family, severed from all connection with human communion and
Mhm.
loneliness. And I really felt that deep sense that when we actually moved the boxes, picked them up This was like an embrace. We were bringing them back into the human family, into human communion. And I said, I'm not just metaphysically speaking, this is not just a place. You know, this is not just a loading dock in Northbrook, Illinois. Where was I really? I was at the edge of the world. What's the edge of the world? The edge of the world is the place furthest out from human communion, and that is where the unwanted go. That is where we put them. And that's where we were whenever we went back. This was a 10-month project. We went back every week, at the end of which we had 5,000 bodies. We did not get them all. We spent basically the whole year of 1988 burying the dead.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that. My guest again today is Dr. Monica Miller. Folks, you can pick up her book, Abandon the Untold Story of the Abortion Wars, by going to Amazon.com or go to her website at citizensforprolifesociety.net. You can pick up the book. And there's all kinds of stories in here about the types of things that she's talking about here, as well as blocking abortionist cars, being arrested, doing sit-ins, going to jail. I'd like to get to some of these, but I do want to finish that thought there, Monica. The idea that they deserve a humane burial.
Right.
I don't think a lot of people think in terms of that, right? I mean, they think, oh, let's save the babies from abortion, but we don't think about the babies' bodies after the abortion. I
Well,
think it's a very profound and important point to make.
Well, here's the staggering thing. It almost is impossible to imagine this, but at this point, we're talking about approximately 62 million victims under Roe v. Wade. So the question is, where are they? Right. Where do you put 60 million dead people? They are washed into our sewer lines. They're in our landfills. They're disintegrated, or they go up in smoke in crematoriums and so on. We only have a fraction of these victims that manage to find their way into a human cemetery where they are buried with wanted babies, right? But mostly in the infant sections of cemeteries. And so actually from that 1988 find of these babies at VitalMed, there was a proliferation of burial sites because we tried to return. This was one of the things that we wanted to do, is give back to the pro-lifers in the various cities where these babies had been murdered, to give these bodies back to those pro-lifers, and so the burial sites multiplied as a consequence of that. And the other thing that's important here is that, like, it's almost impossible to wrap our minds around 62 million dead people. Where are they, right?
Yeah.
But that drives the point home that we are really dealing with human beings who once upon a time actually lived. Their bodies were actually torn apart. They are real. And I have all the photographs that we took as also a consequence of finding these babies. By the way, I could drive people to the website, which is imagesofabortion.com. So they're galleries of photographs, imagesofabortion.com.
My guest again, Dr. Monica Miller. We're talking about her book, Abandoned, the Untold Story of the Abortion Wars. Monica, if you would, I'd like to switch gears a little bit here and talk about rescuing.
Yes.
You have over the years been arrested for blocking the doors to abortion centers back in the 80s and early 90s, even before that, I think. Also, but recently, it's kind of had a rebirth.
Yes.
Calling them Red Rose Rescues. This is now happening across America. If you would, please explain what rescues were, Operation Rescue, if you will, back in the day, and now Red Rose Rescues. What are those? What is that?
Right. Well, unfortunately, a lot of pro-lifers, especially maybe, the younger generation, has no memory that once upon a time there was a very vibrant, very vigorous rescue movement, Operation Rescue in particular, in the late 1980s and into the mid 1990s, where literally tens of thousands of pro-lifers were blocking the doors to abortion clinics, risking arrest, protecting the unborn. What happened, in long story short, the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, that bill that was signed by President Clinton, 1994, made rescuing a federal offense, and a lot of other complicated reasons why that movement essentially went by the wayside. But I've always felt very strongly that the unborn deserve a presence. They deserve a practical, peaceful, nonviolent, and very insistent on that, and there's reasons for that, defense. Look, if my life was threatened, somebody was attacking me with a knife, wouldn't you want someone to put their bodies between the assailant and yourself? You would at least want someone to recognize that your life has value and that you have a right to be defended. And that's what we want to do in a rescue, is defend, offer a real practical act of defense for the unborn. Now, Red Rose Rescue is a little bit different in this regard. And now we're going into our 4th year of doing Red Rose Rescue.
Just to recap, to go back. So Operation Rescue, rescuing citizens in front of abortion doors of abortion mills. That was happening in the late 80s and 90s. Blocking access. That's what you were doing. You were blocking access. You were preventing people from women from coming in and actually committing the abortions. That was, for all intents and purposes, ended by Bill Clinton with the passage of the Freedom to Access Clinic Entrances Law, which is FACE, still on the books today. But since then and now, there's been kind of a rebirth. That is what you're calling the Red Rose Rescue. So go ahead from there. I just wanted to recap.
In a sense, we've reconfigured the rescue effort, Red Rose Rescue. So we will have a team of rescuers. We cap it basically at 6, because this is not a protest of abortion. We don't want to glut the waiting room of the abortion center with a whole bunch of pro-lifers. We want to go in there and be as quiet, as inconspicuous as possible for as long as possible. Go in, literally sit down next to the moms who are, in another 5 minutes, they're going to go down the hallway to the abortion chambers and kill their children. And at that last minute, really offer the moms and words of encouragement and real practical help. And we have had women turn away. Even in the latest rescue was just this January 30th in Silver Spring, Maryland. And indeed, a Hispanic woman was counseled by Lauren Handy, one of the rescuers, and she left the clinic saying, "I'm keeping my baby. I've made a decision to keep my baby." So we know that this does save lives, but more, maybe in a sense, more significantly, even all the babies, even if they all wind up going to their deaths, they had that extra act of love in recognition of their humanity. Right. And so we go in the clinic, we sit down and talk to the moms, but if the mothers refuse our help, part of the rescue, very importantly, we will stay with those babies. We will not leave them. We will be in solidarity with them. And we have learned, not always is the case, but the majority of our time, the times that we've been in these abortion clinics doing these rescues, as long as there's a pro-life presence there, the abortions are halted, and the unborn Yeah, go ahead.
To interrupt, I'm sorry, Monica, we got about a couple minutes left here. So, I mean, I think we understand what's going on there. So generally what happens, you refuse to leave in solidarity with the children, and that leads to your arrest. Now, some people would often leads to your arrest. Now, I mean, we don't have a lot of time in this first segment to talk about this, but there would be many who would say, just with Operation Rescue, that we shouldn't be breaking the law. In other words, that you are getting arrested. We're supposed to be law-abiding people. Romans 13 says this, to obey the civil authority. How do you react to that?
Yeah, well, Romans 13, St. Paul is talking about a ruler that is acting according to God's law. And an unjust law is not a true law. And just because there's a law that says somebody can be put to death with the sanction of our judicial system doesn't make it right. We are offering an act of love and charity to these moms and to these babies. They deserve it. As St. Thomas Aquinas said, an unjust law is no law at all. Indeed, it is violence. And we have every moral right to offer an act of charity to these moms and to these babies, irrespective of whatever the so-called legal system says about it.
Right. So the point is not to get arrested. The point is to stand in solidarity with the children themselves. And as a result, if necessary, that would require arrest. And we're not going to, obey these arbitrary laws that are set in place protecting child killing. Folks, listen, I want you to take action. I want you to do something about this. And here's how you can do it. We're going to be giving away 5 of Monica's books, the Abandoned, the Untold Story of the Abortion Wars. You can go to our website at markharrington.org, markharrington.org. We're going to give up to 5 of these books away free to the first 5 people. So go there to our website, markharrington.org or markharringtonshow.com, either one, and fill out the contact form and send us an email saying, I want one of these books. We'll send it to you for free of charge. I'm telling you, it is the best book on abortion. It talks about the history of Operation Rescue and all the other things, but it's also just gets to the heart of the matter. So we're going to be giving away 5 of these. Again, go to markharrington.org, just fill out the contact form, and we will send you the book for free. The other thing you can do is join us on the sidewalk. Monica's in Michigan. We're in Ohio. You can join us in either one of those places. Or we can coordinate things and set up things for you to meet someone at your local abortion center in your town, in your state, so you can be a presence standing against the evil of our day. That is the child killing. So we can do that. So we're going to give away a free book if you wish, or also you can just join us on the sidewalk. We need your support. Monica, in the time we have left here, what I'd like you to do is the website is best for you as citizensforprolifesociety.net.
Yeah, the website, Mark, and 2 websites. If people want to learn about Red Rose Rescue, easy. Just go to redroserescue.com. I even have a video right on the homepage that talks about what we do and why we do it. And then there's prolifesociety.com. That's our website for CPLS.
Okay. All right. So again, my guest has been Dr. Monica Miller. Folks, you can find out more about Created Equal by going to createdequal.org, or to find out more about our program, go to markharrington.org. Again, we're giving away 5 of these books. If you go on our website, fill out the contact form, and let us know that you want to have the book. We're gonna have to give us your address, and we'll send that to you free of charge. And then join us in front of the abortion centers, folks. We need you out there holding signs, sidewalk counseling, and all the rest. So you've been listening to the Mark Harrington Show. My guest today has been Dr. Monica Miller. You can find out more at citizensforprolifesociety.net or redroserescue.com. God bless you. God bless America. And remember, America, to bless God.
You've been listening to Mark Harrington, your radio activist. For more information on how to become a witness against the evil plague in America, call Created Equal at 614-269-7808. That's 614-269-7808. Or go online to createdequal.net. Createdequal.net. Be sure to tune to the Mark Harrington Show next time for your marching orders in the culture war.